Hey everyone, welcome to the part 16 Ask Me Anything Clarity Chat. This is the 76th episode of Clarity Chat and an opportunity to echo the clarity on different issues and topics interacting with all the participants. So as always, let me begin the session by thanking you all for your encouragement and engagement from all over the world. Please keep sharing your feedback on what's going and what's not going as per your views. And do respond to this small survey coming your way. If you've already responded to it, please ignore it. So, sometimes a question gets asked to me that, how come you know so much, or, how can you answer anything, or how can you run something like an AMA? Well, I thought about it, and I think the answer is that there are multiple complex issues and situations in business which arise. One, they arise out of, a few root causes, as well as they can also be solved through certain basic principles. So that is what I call as like first principle thinking. That when you come across an issue or a question, you try to break it down into the most underlying elements of it, and then try to think through each one of them. And I'm happy if if this style of first principle thinking and analysis appeals to you and helps you. So today we will cover some backlog of past questions on integrating customer emotions with digitization, startup challenges in getting business, leadership style in change management, shaping high performance organizations, and many more, including the threat to the CIO role. We'll of course balance these with live audience questions. So your live questions always take the higher priority. And the backlog kind of sometimes keeps getting extended. So you can ask questions on anything related to managing IT or leadership, or any chronic issue that you have in your mind that you see in your organization or with your customer or with your supplier. And let's discuss the challenges which lead to technology being necessary but not sufficient for improving business performance. Well, as always, you're also welcome to come live with me if you're not satisfied with something, or if you want to have a more detailed discussion on something. Please leave a comment, and my team will send you the StreamYard studio link, to join us live. Well, we can have a 5-10 minute discussion, and then we can leave. Well, so I believe that end of the day, it's experiences which lead to gyan, or when you apply gyan to your already happened experiences, which could have been improved. This is where the insights lie. It's not the other way around. The gyan doesn't need you to experience. You cannot read as many books and watch videos and become an expert. Okay. So, as always, you will get practical experiences, case studies, and approaches, the first principle approaches. So you can gather your own insights. So let's go ahead. But before going ahead, I would request our audience to share their name and where they are joining from in the comment box of LinkedIn or YouTube. When we look at our audience, they include, CXOs, founders, um, technology managers on both sides, which is the partner side as well as the enterprise side. And all of them come here to learn the difference between, technology being necessary but not sufficient, and what is and how we will bridge that gap. So I, as well as my guests out here, we all bring our experiences and our art of managing technology, as I call it, to answer your questions and to give you some insights. So thank you all for attending. Please do mention where are you joining from, and if you have any questions. As I said, the audience questions, live questions, always take first priority. So let us see who all we have here. We have, well, the first one out there is Sumit, welcoming all of you. Then we have Sajith, remember being part of first few sessions. Yes, Sajith. Pawan Roy, good evening. Here is from West Africa. Oh, Pawan, I thought you were in Calcutta. When did you reach West Africa? Looks like there has been some change in your assignment. Well, we have, as always, sets from Texas. And we have Pratanu from Calcutta. And now we have the first question of the day, the first live question of the day, which is, can design thinking be applied to functions like HR, finance, other than engineering alone? Oh, of course, of course. So let's understand again, as I said, when you get down to um, how to approach a problem through first principle. So what's the first principle of design thinking? The first principle of design thinking is to start from the customer. It is to put the customer in the center and then design around it. Okay. So gather the latent needs of the customer, the express needs of the customer, and figure out and generate. Okay, so that's one thing. So which is keep customer in the center. So don't HR and finance have customers? Of course they have customers. I don't think there's no department which doesn't have customers. Okay. Yes, sometimes they're internal customers, sometimes they're external customers. Even sometimes even your supplier can be your customer. If you are fulfilling a need, or if you're enabling them to do something with you, even they can be customers. So now that we have established that everyone has a customer, can you put the customer in the center, okay, and start thinking, start your designing your processes, designing your solutions, or anything you want to innovate on, or anything that where you want a breakthrough change in terms of solving a problem, or let's say capturing an opportunity. So you put the customer in the center. The second part of design thinking is to generate a lot of options. It's called diverge and then converge, right? So diverge in terms of generate like a lot of options, a lot of ideas, and take them through a very structured and methodical process of of parsing and like sort of categorizing, etc., and then you converge. That means then you sort of start clearing out the hay and get to your grain, and that's where the entire innovation happens. What will come out of a design thinking session cannot be predicted, because um just because of the process that it involves, right? So yeah, if finance wants a breakthrough performance improvement, they can use design thinking. If HR wants a breakthrough improvement, for example, in employee retention, or for example, in employee satisfaction, or for example, in you know, sort of uh, sort of thinking through, like how to get to a new culture. Yes, you can use design thinking. I hope that answers your question. If you have a follow-up question, do send it my way, Sajid. Okay. So now, well, I'm happy that it's not only me who's answering the question. So Pratanu says that I believe that they need to understand the financial side of that project and take the decision in a planned way. Okay, so this may be, I think Pratanu's question may be related, Pratanu's response may be related to those aspects of technology programs, which involve finance guys. So let me address, a sort of a follow-up question that I foresee here, is that um, if you are doing a design thinking session for a technology program related to whatever function it may be, should you be involving people like HR and finance, okay, who tend to support you? I would say definitely yes, because they can bring in their experiences from situations where they have been a customer. Uh, you please do not assume that the finance guys or the HR guys do not care about your customers or do not care about the users for whom you are designing the solution. Uh, Plus, they bring their own perspective on on what they think about the financial aspects of a technology program. So do involve them as well. Okay, thanks Pratanu for enriching the discussion. Okay, guys, any more questions? Anyone? Meanwhile, I have Dattatray from Oman. Sorry, Dattatray, we couldn't meet when I was in Muscat. But yeah, good we exchange numbers. I should be back again sometime there. Let's hope, and then we'll try to meet. Okay, so Pawan, I know you are there in the audience. We said hi. You're in West Africa. And here we pick up a question from you, which you asked earlier, which is what should be the leadership style in change management? What sort of planning is needed? So, see, change management. You have to look at change management top down and bottoms up. Okay, so that's the sort of planning you require. So, what is the top down planning? Top down planning is like let's understand that um, you cannot make a change at the ground level in an organization if their bosses are not talking the same language, or the bosses are not talking the same language, and all that, right? So that means the change management has to be approached top down. And when you are addressing the senior stakeholders out there, people at a CXO level or at a function head level, uh, you have to first convince them. You have to first have the line of communication, engagement, workshop, whatever you may be doing. It has to start top down, and you need to kind of convert them and then take their help with putting them in the lead and then go levels down. I've done multiple programs where I have been very clear that if this is coming from the bottom, I'm not doing it. If it is coming, if the division head wants to do it, if the division head is passionate about it, if the division head is clear about it in terms of not only what it will take uh, from the functions point of view, but what kind of hard decisions which will need to be taken, what kind of role changes need to be that will need to be done, and what kind of process changes, controls, etc. need to be done. There's a lot that is required to be done on the business side of things, and these are, I would say, hardcore policy, process, roles and responsibilities, even new roles sometimes, those kind of matters. And therefore, you need a top-down change management approach. Wherever you are trying to implement the change, the embracing the change has to happen from top down. Um, and then those leaders have to drive the change. So let me give you a practical aspect of it. So let us say we are talking about an Office 365 implementation way back in 2015-16. Of course, the senior management was sold on the concept of collaboration, communication, microsites, and all of that. Um, but what we did was the next level. We reached out to each of the CXOs and we asked them to give us a 1 hour slot in their staff meeting. Okay, so now think about, like, each of these CXOs have their staff of, let's say, 10 to 15 people, their direct reports, and we go there and we make this pitch, and we have an understanding with the leader that the leader has to support us, right? And then we take the critical ones, let's say the people heavy departments out of those, and then we seek another level of, let's say, communication or training with them. uh, so that's how it percolates top down, right? Now, when I said bottoms up approach to change management, at every level in the organization, or let me say, as human beings, we are afraid of change, right? And the reason, very simple, is that the world was, even just, let's say, 50 years back, the world was not a safe place where you could take your next hour, next day, or next month, or next year for granted that you will be alive. Okay. Now, for millions of years, human beings been have survived because of that insecurity, which is, embedded deep inside the tiny part of your brain called amygdala. So that's why whenever something new happens to you, we always look at things with suspicion. We always look at things with insecurity. You cannot do anything about it because it's part of the human biology, right? So now, what do we? um so why is it important to understand the amygdala factor? Is because, take it for a given, you know, that people will be suspicious, insecure, and afraid of change, of anything that you bring to them, which doesn't follow the same pattern. Now, but the human beings have also progressed, over millions of years because of that aspiration, okay, of a personal achievement, aspiration of a better future, and that is what has taken human beings all over the place. That is what has taken us to Moon and Mars, and that is why we are here, because there is an aspirational aspect. There's a better future aspect of any of what we embrace. So we need to, in bottoms of communication at every level, we need to analyze and study very clearly that what are the fears that they're likely to have, and at the same time, what are the aspirations they are likely to have, or what is it that we can promise them in terms of a better future. And it's not necessarily sometimes that it's a better future for them in the sense that it will save them sometime always. It's a better future for the organization, for their customers, etc., etc. And please understand that people are not looking for just a better future for them, but they care about many things. They care about the team, they care about customers, they care about the organization, they care about the community. So there are multiple levers that you can think through in terms of fine tuning your own pitch for every level. Okay. Uh, Now, every level, these things will differ. At the ground level, where the operations are happening, which is task-oriented work, you know, uh, your what do you call your fears and aspirations will be different at a lead level, at a manager level, at a leader level, and you need to connect with them at each level appropriately. And that is why you cannot have just one change management training running through the entire gamut uh, of the uh, of your organization, right? So let me summarize this by saying the bottoms up part by saying that the best approach to change management is in this Gujarati phrase, which is Maru Su. What is in it for me? If you are able to answer this question around what is in it for me, just a minute, guys. I've got a a naughty boy around who I had to remind that I'm on a show. Okay, so it is Maru Su, okay, which is what is in it for me. And if you're able to answer it for everyone who's involved, who's getting disrupted, or whose work is getting changed because of whatever you're implementing, you'll be able to do it. A couple of other things, which I can mention. Most times as leaders and managers, we tend to approach things from from an organization point of view, or from we get basically locked onto the various powerpoints and the strategy maps that we do. But I think the approach to change management always has to start from empathy and people centricity. Okay? To respect people for what they are, to respect their fears, to trust their aspirations, okay? And that's what we talked about. The other one, in terms of, let's say, going down a little deeper into the mechanics of change management or your communication when you're going about it. You know, please avoid jargon. Okay, nobody's looking for lofty ideas. Nobody's looking for jargon. You have to be specific, and you have to take examples where these people are embedded, where these people are included. Like, for example, instead of saying that, hey, this will improve our process efficiency by 50%, and this is what will do this or that. You simply say that, hey, what, today's process, these are the steps, and these are the errors that happen, and therefore this is the rework, and these are the turnaround times. The moment you put facts and figures and real data in front of people, they know that you're talking sense. You're not talking strategy and lofty ideas, as I call them. And then you work through, show them the future picture that when you do this, this is how the 2B process will look, and all the improvements that will happen. How will the program, or whatever you're building will contribute to it, right? So be very specific. Talk with examples. Um, make it tangible, realistic storytelling. No jargons. Address Maru Su and start from the top. The change always happens top down. Okay, so let me see if there are any other questions here. Uh, okay, guys, I'm just browsing through your comments. They are coming by the dozen. It's a good problem to have. We have Amarinder from Namma Bengaluru. Thank you, Amarinder. Always good to have you on the chat. Then we have Dattatray is asking what role does Metaverse is going to play in future. Human beings have a great imagination, and what really uh, what what really enriches our life is when these imaginations are like played out in different ways. So the closest to what I see Metaverse doing is like movies, right? Movies transport you to a different place, to a different, sometimes to a different planet, sometimes to a different time in the future, sometimes to a different time in the past. And it makes it very, very evocative in terms of the imagery, and we feel right in this place. So I think what Metaverse is doing is doing this in an interactive way that you are there in a certain setting, and you can interact, you can own something, you can participate. Now, so this is some sort of an alternate reality. Um, in movies, etc., there is an alternate reality, but you're only an observer. Here, there's an alternate reality, and you're a participant, right? So you have places, real brands, real places, real, I would say, characters in movies. You have the same metaverse, but then you can interact with them. So there are, as I said, it's part of imagination. It's giving you a different experience, and of course, they think about whatever we are able to use an audiovisual medium for. Okay, in a variety of different ways, whether it is for training, whether it is for let's say motivation, or whether it is for participation. I think in all those same ways you could also use metaverse plus more, because you're allowing people to interact. So I see some real, let's say, purely from a business point of view, real use cases could be in terms of let's say simulating customer interactions. It could be in terms of training people on operating machines, um, on safety aspects. So there are a variety of use cases which are there, and of course, what will make them real is again the imagination and creativity of people. Right? Okay, so we have a question from Amarinder. How do you deal with a leader who's not receptive, has biases, and not a good listener, and also distant from ground level operations details? Oh, that's a great question, Amrinder. Um, so here comes the age-old Indian wisdom. Okay, so first thing, let's start with the Japanese wisdom. Okay, which is about Genbai. Right? So you have to create certain scenarios, um, where you are able to make the leaders see the ground reality. Okay, many times, see, let's understand. Okay, again, like I'm going back to first principles, and sorry if I iterate a little bit in terms of developing the framework. So the first question, or the first principle that I always use in any setting is that all human beings are good, and no one wants to do a shitty job. Okay. Having said that, why people still end up doing what they're doing, and be a jerk, is one, because of their past experiences where either somebody has been a jerk to them, or where they did something good, but sort of they were a victim of being a good man or a woman, and that kind of shapes their attitudes. So I would always take a very lenient view of what you will call as jerks, and just try to understand what they've gone through. Many a times I have seen that people, they have gone through some hard times, they have gone through some disappointments, um, and they have gone through, you know so whatever life gives you, it's reflected by you to the world. And it's just that, as long as you are empathetic to them, as long as you expose them to set of new experiences, I think you'll be able to break through. So let's come to the second one now. Let me not talk wishy-washy. The second is like, what can we do in a tangible way uh, to basically now change that experience? So having established that they have gone through certain set of experiences which make them what they are today, also should give you a trust that if we are able to somehow orchestrate a new set of experiences to them, or influence them in certain ways, we will be able to reshape uh, what they are. And many times, Amrinder, I have seen that thing being real. You remember the movie Lion King, in which this Simba is like happy, dancing around Hakuna Matata until one day, his childhood girlfriend, the Sherni, comes and reminds him who he is and what he is supposed to be and what he is supposed to do, and remind him of his responsibilities. Um, Many a times you got to do that, in a very non-judgmental way. That this is what everyone looks forward from you. So let me give you a small example without taking any names. Okay, so we had this huge offsite and a sort of quarterly review where a very senior leader had was invited, and again, it wasn't very, I would say, nothing wrong with him, but it's just that uh, he wouldn't on his own interact a lot with everyone, mingle around, etc., etc. So there was a small group of old friends that you know who knew him. He was comfortable with a set of old friends, which other people kind of looked at as a coterie, okay, or his circle. So after everything, it was time for drinks in the evening, and as usual, these close ones, they caught hold of him, and they sat in a corner and started chatting, and we had like many people around mingling. And I just went to him and gently told him, I said, sir, I need like 10-15 minutes from you. He says, yeah, sit down and let's talk. What is it about? I said, no, sir. I don't want those 10-15 minutes for myself. I want those 10-15 minutes for all these people who have come from all over India for this review. I want you to sort of shake hands with everyone. They will feel really nice shaking hands with you. And he kind of he looked at me and he was intrigued, and then he smiled and he said, "Okay, let me play along." And so while I took 10 minutes from him just to shake hands with everyone, it actually ended up being the entire party. I mean, the entire, I would say, after work dinner or whatever. So we went around, as he was shaking hands, I was like connecting that, hey, you know what? There was this presentation where we talked about this particular achievement. He's the guy behind. And then he would ask him a few questions. And, it was a very good, rich discussion. Then we go and talk to the next manager, and then I would connect to the next thing that's happening in his area, and so on. And suddenly I think the whole. So I orchestrated a completely new experience for him, where it is like, what, being a senior leader, it's our job to interact with people and to connect all the good work that we see happening around, around the functions. There are faces, uh, which are linked to those, achievements, linked to those breakthroughs, transformations, and we got to interact and we got to motivate them. So that was the entire. So I didn't really have to, I didn't really have to lecture around with him. So, so it was like, so you don't really have to lecture around. You don't really have to like say that, hey, do this, or why don't you do this? Many times, somebody is a senior guy, so you are not in a position to do that. But it is just, try to orchestrate an experience which is new and which sort of like, communicates what you want to. Of course, what always helps is non-judgmental feedback with certain indemnities. It's like, boss, if you don't mind, I want to tell you something, more for you to chew on and digest if possible, or, or spit out if it doesn't make sense to you. May I? And then you give that feedback. Generally it will be like a bit of a shock and awe, and then a discussion. But these are sensitive discussions, guys, and you got to really have them only when you're confident about yourself and the person you're talking to. So Amrinder, let me know if this makes sense and if you liked what I did in terms of changing the experience. Okay, let me move on. I have Karthikeyan Sivaswami. Hey, good evening. Good evening, Karthik. Um, yeah, okay. The next question is a very interesting one from Karthik. He's asking, is Elon Musk ramming through changes too fast, Jagdish Sir, without testing them in a sandbox environment first? I have been as intrigued and as amused by what Mr. Musk is doing. You know what, Karthik, I feel flattered that you're asking someone like me that question. Elon is a he's a big shot. I'm not sure whether I'm qualified to comment on him, but I can only comment from where I stand from my perspective, which is like my the management style. Again, what Elon is trying to do is to bring the same style that he used to build Tesla, to build all the businesses that he has, the rocket business and the battery business and all, which is like very very, I would say, no nonsense, hard working, 16 hours a day kind of work style that he has been able to drive in those organizations. I think he's trying to do the same here, but the big difference that I think uh, is missing, or the big thing that is different, is that those are the businesses which he sort of set up and grew. Okay, so there was a so whatever you see in those organizations, that was like right from the beginning, right, or when they were small, and these have become big with that culture. But here is an organization which is relatively successful, relatively large, and has a certain set of cultural traits, a certain set of brand values, or whatever attracts talent to them. And you just want to copy paste a certain culture, work style, etc. It doesn't happen that way. You're trying to like sort of like you're in a way, you're trying to convert a cruise ship into a tanker, when it is sailing, without giving it a sufficient time. So that's how I see it. I think changing an organization, or um transforming an organization which is already into operations has to be a slow process. It has to be an inclusive, engaging process, and it has to be a very people-centric process. And the biggest thing that I disagree with Mr. Musk's style is that it's completely disrespectful to people. And I mean, I can already sort of see the crisis that the people have been fired, and then sanity seeps in, and then you say, oh my God, I need these people, and then you bring them back in, you request them to join back. They will, but only if you are respectful in the process of hiring them. Hiring and firing are a reality in today's world. So, but it's very important in terms of the process that you follow in doing that. And are you looking at it from a transaction point of view, or are you looking from a long-term relationship point of view? And I think all of us know he's messing up. Okay, but I'm really flattered that you asked me that question. Okay. So Pratanu says that being a participant makes the metaverse interesting, and I think it will be great and exciting. Yes, Pratanu. I think see, the metaverse kind of experience, requires the kind of connectivity, the kind of computing capacity, the kind of low latency, you know, plumbing, which I think we are still to see fully. So it's like it's too early to it's too early to say that that's a fad. I think once this computing capacity, both at the end user level as well as at a cloud level, it already exists. At a end user level also, it relatively exists. But I think it's the network capacity as well as at the latency level when that comes in. And I think we are just there. It's only how do you scale up the whole thing without breaking things apart. And we have seen multiple technologies go through that kind of process, that there's early promise, and then the ecosystem evolves, the ecosystem develops, and once the ecosystem develops, and as you're scaling up, there are some cracks that start appearing. But then there is enough talent out there to convert those problems into opportunities. And what is happening is that the ecosystem matures. I already see, in my interactions with corporates, I already see some really exciting stuff being done in metaverse. For example, brand presence, and how that's getting converted into IT services opportunities or BP opportunities. Oh, it's exciting. Yes. Okay. And Pratanu, thanks for those kind words. The Clarity Chat is great to understand tough management topics in a simple way. And right in the beginning, as I said, however tough the topic is, it can be broken down into simple principles, and which I call as first principles, and then analyze and approach that way. So we have Kailash Bhatt from Dwarikesh Sugar, Najibabad, Bijnor. Hey, thanks, Kailash. It's been good to interact with you. I see you after a long time here, but yeah, thanks for being there. Okay. So, guys, I don't have any more questions, but let me just bring in some of these responses or some of the comments from you. So, Pratanu is saying that clarity indicates the right combination of taking a teacup and talk to a great leader like you. Yeah, it's it's exciting for me to be having my cup of tea every Saturday at 5 p.m. and to be talking to all of you. In this connected world world with work from home, someone like me doing work from home who has been like, all over the place in my executive career. Like I was like always on the ground. I was always talking to people. Going to the places of operations, visiting plants, and all of that. For me to be working from home, I can't tell you how much I miss those times. But then Clarity Chat is a great way to be interacting with practicing managers like all of you, and to be able to discuss and provide some insights into the challenges or into the questions that you have. Thanks, Pratanu, for that comment. Amarinder, thanks a lot for delving into my question, Jagdish, with multiple examples and approaches. I have a few points to ponder over and plan. Looks like Amarinder, you're going through that challenge. Yeah, let's chat up, man. Let's chat up one-on-one sometimes, and go through, and maybe like I can share more of my experiences. Um, you know, I would have loved to share many of these one-on-one experiences, but of course, uh, I have my hands tied there. Can't talk so much, especially from an organization initiatives point of view, yes, but from the one-on-one change management stories that I have to abstract them a little bit. Yeah. Thanks, Karthik. Oh, so Karthik, Amarinder has sent an interesting thread with you. Uh, Amrinder, maybe since I'm not on LinkedIn, I'm in this virtual studio. You can tell us what it is about. Is it about Elon Musk, messing up with Twitter? Okay, so let me take one last question, guys. If you have any rapid fires, any quick nuts that you want to throw my way, please do that. I'm moving towards the end of the chat. Where I just take one question from the backlog and then some of your questions, and then we'll close it. We'll try to close it before 6 o'clock. Okay. So this question came from Prashad Bhujbal. It says how to integrate customer emotions with digitization. Okay. So just two just two things to kind of look and analyze, Prasad. One is that um, you know uh, can we completely change the customer experience or customer emotions with digitization? Yes, but changing emotions means that you also have to participate in those emotions, or you need to know what those emotions are, right? So first thing, you have to be technology centric, not sorry, you have to be customer centric, not technology centric. The second thing is that technology is just 20% of customer experience. Any business you are in, however technology enabled, okay, go and observe a day in your customer's life, and you will find that 80% of the time they are doing things outside. They are running some physical process. They are trying to tie together a few things, and then they are coming back and using your technology to basically to close those transactions or something. So, well, I mean, one way to do that is the design thinking. The other is of course, observe your customers, a day in customers' life. So there are multiple mechanisms that you can put into place. Uh, but there is no alternative to being there on the ground, interacting with your customers, talking to them, uh, and then fine tuning and building those emotions into the product. So I can give an example to you. We are right now, as you all know, I am building an exciting startup, Flock and Go. Uh, so we want a very very high experience quotient, and we know that we cannot do it. However much of user experience design or philosophy we bring in, it will never be enough. And therefore, I'm on the ground. I'm personally driving, the customer interactions, in the various experiments, taking their feedback, listening to them, and giving loads and loads of that feedback on a daily basis to my team, and then iterating it. So I'm not outsourcing it yet. I'm not, we're not expanding it yet. Till the time we are able to generate that excitement in a small community, and that is when I think we are going to open it up to a larger one. I keep getting asked that question, why are you not opening it? But yeah, no, we don't want to under promise, and we don't want to over promise and under deliver. So if you can bring that, that care for the customer, or that customer centricity, where you are always cross checking as to how your technology is improving the customer emotion, is improving the customer interaction, is it delighting the customer, is it creating a roadblock for the customer. Some of that you have to do personally, and some of that you need to kind of stand in your customer shoes, right? So again, two-factor answer: be customer centric, not technology centric. And technology is 20% of customer experience. The other 80%, the better handle you have on it to various mechanisms, the better you will be able to integrate customer emotions into digitization. Okay. Okay, so I do have some questions, so let me quickly take them in a rapid fire manner. So Pratanu is asking, have you visited foreign countries? It is really great to see that you have been exposed to interesting facts related to business. Oh yes, Pratanu, I have been very, very fortunate to have visited multiple countries. I have visited US, UK, France, Germany, Korea, Indonesia, Thailand, Singapore, Australia. Um, some in the Central Asia as well as Middle East. Uh, and uh, it is, there are two ways to approach it. When I meet with people during my travels, I see two attitudes. Okay, one attitude is judgment. We do like that, they do like this. We do like that, they do like this. यहाँ पे ये अच्छा नहीं है, this is not good here, this is good here, this is bad here. Rather for me, I go with a sponges attitude, which is like, forget about good or bad. Just pick it up, and then keep asking why. What is there in the culture? What is there in the history? Did they, whatever attitudes or whatever culture traits we see, where are they coming from? So it's a very interesting thing to to keep asking that question, or to keep having discussions around where is it coming from, where is it coming from, where is it coming from, and then you simply enrich your own knowledge and understanding of the people. But I have seen commonalities. What I said, you know, everyone has fears, everyone has aspirations. This doesn't change. All of us connect at a human level, as long as you see that openness in the other guy. Um, so all of, and everywhere I have still to come across any country, community, or whatever boxing you might want to do about people. Somebody's daily bad. No, I think people inherently are all good, right? It's just that propaganda sometimes makes them bad. So the lesser we talk about it, the better it is. Okay, so the next question is, CXO pay is 320% more than the median salary. What is your view on this justification? So sets. These are sometimes irrelevant, because end of the day, you get paid for the value that you create. I always look at it, even for you or for anyone to look at, these things are from the impact on the business. Okay? So if you are at whatever level you are, just look around the metrics of your impact, like how many customers are you impacting, how much revenues are you impacting, how much cost you're impacting, and then like just divide your salary by that. I call it as the impact, your impact magnifier. You do the same thing for a CEO, for a CXO. A CXO can make a difference to a business, which can, let's say, even if it can take the company's performance 10% higher, that 10% is huge. And when you compare that to the CXO pay, you will find that the magnifiers, one is that the impact is much more, and second is that the magnifier may be the same. The magnifier may be the same at a ground level, at a middle level, at a CEO level, in terms of the expectations they have, in terms of the targets they have. And end of the day, it's a marketplace. So every organization, every person out here is competing with many other people. And the greater value you bring to the table, the greater value you have added in your past assignments, the trust and confidence you have from the boards or the managements of the companies who are hiring you. Those are the things that decide what your compensation is. Companies are competing for talent, and therefore the greater the impact multiplier is, the higher is the competition for talent as well. So I hope that answers your question. I would otherwise say that there are enough anomalies you can find in the statistics, but let's go down to the basics and try to understand where that comes from. Right? Yeah, during layoffs and restructuring, common thought is, why don't they take a pay cut to show commitment to the company? I would say they should, but is it commitment to the company? Not so much. It's a transactional relationship most of the times. But yes, to show commitment to the people, they should do that. Where that all of you are going through a pain, and I'm inflicting that pain on you, but I'm also inflicting a bit of pain on myself. Yeah, they should do that. Okay. So, guys, I think we are just like at the hour, and I do have some more questions here, but we also need questions, from for our backlog to be taken up in the next AMA, and to cover that possibility that, hey, I may have an AMA session where I don't have sufficient questions, or I'm making you guys sleep. So let me keep these questions for that eventuality. For now, everyone, please enjoy your weekend. And thank you for all your questions, and and for thought-provoking discussions. These really make me think as well. So it's not that I know all the answers. As I start reading your question, my mind has to start working and figuring out the fundamental principles which we have to bring in. Thanks again, everyone. Thank you, all of you who are watching this recorded version of this session. And please, everyone, have a great weekend. I'm taking this chat from Khandala, where we are, out here for a golf tournament tomorrow. It's a big day for us. So wish us well, and for now, bye bye. Have a great weekend.